and we'll just get you to, you know, chill out on the mat a bit. Chill out as much as the head circle series can let you chill out, that is. So, from the brief conversation I've had with Ruth and Jenny, I think the three of us are all of a mind that today was a very successful day. So you can bring your hands together and feel really good about that. And maybe as you're lying on your back, you can reflect on the nature of apprehension and anxiety, if any of you had that. And what a funny, funny, funny emotion it is. Because for all of you, it's now disappeared, if you had it. Anxiety and apprehension, and/or apprehension. And sort of the absence of it is fabulous. And, you know, maybe the sort of view that it's a waste of time in the first place. Easy to say, hard to do. But the amazing thing about anxiety, well, we'll talk about anxiety some other time. It's a very interesting emotion. So notice the absence of it. And what the absence of anxiety affords you in terms of being able to pay attention to other things. So anxiety is it limits us. It kind of channels our attention to a limited field. That's the problem with anxiety. A little bit of anxiety can actually do the opposite, though, can't it? It can kind of open us up and give us energy, and, you know, that kind of what do you call it? You know, not stage nerves. Huh? Who stress? You know, like, no, there's a performance term for it. You know, when it's not like stage fright, but it's that like little apprehension you have before you go on stage. It's actually a good thing. What's that called? Excitement. Yes, let's call it excitement. Yeah. So, you know, anyway, can play with that. I'll stop babbling. Lie on the floor, feel yourself, do that stuff. Who's tired? Yeah. So giving this giving the floor the opportunity to support your weight. You don't have to do anything anymore. So there's that sense of relief, and with that sense of relief is, you know, maybe a sense of release or something like that. Maybe if, you know, if you weren't anxious, maybe none of this makes any sense to you. That's perfectly fine. In which case, roll over onto your belly and prop yourself up on both of your elbows and your forearms. So lying on your belly, propped on your elbows. So your elbows are under your shoulders. And now check in to see, now because I'm monitoring myself in light of that, in what feedback I've been giving. You can see, because your eyes are open, that your face is vertical, but you can't see your face. So it is a stupid thing to say. Sense, is your face actually vertical? Is it parallel to the wall in front of you? Or not? And therefore, in noticing what plane your face is in, where are your eyes looking? So it could be that your face is vertical and your eyes are looking directly out the middle of the sockets. It could be that your face is tipped a little bit forward, but your eyes are still on some kind of horizon, so they're more in the top of your sockets. Or it could be anything else, whatever. What is it for you? In terms of the plane of your face and where your eyes are, looking, and then where your eyes are in the sockets, in their sockets. And now very, very slowly, keeping your head where it is comfortably, so somewhere towards the vertical, allow your chest to sink a little bit more between your shoulder blades. So it's like your sternum goes a little bit more towards the floor, the top of the belly. And then lift it a little bit. So that space between your shoulder blades gets smaller as your chest sinks towards the floor, and the space between your shoulder blades increases as your chest lifts away from the floor. You could almost imagine that I come up and I put my hand between your shoulder blades and I gently lean, and it pushes your shoulder down towards the floor. And then it's like if you had a handle there, I could pull up and I could pull the chest up between your shoulder blades. And keep on doing that. And there may be a temptation for your head to move. However, can your head be disinterested in this movement? It's kind of going along for the ride. It could be a micro movement, but the plane of your face isn't changing. Did you pick the right place for your elbows? If they were a little bit more inward, would it be easier or harder? If they're a little bit more outward, a little bit more forward, a little bit more backward. So find out if, firstly, it makes a difference where your elbows are. So there's a kind of happy place where you've balanced the mobility, the freedom of the chest to move, with having your elbows stable. And we're always making this decision between whether we're really stable, which means actually probably it might be hard to move, versus very mobile. So it's easy to move, but we're really unstable. There's something about us not taking the initial foundation as gospel, but questioning our decisions. Good. Leave it and rest. Stay on your front and rest, your head resting on the floor. Either on the cheek or on the forehead. And what's it like to rest on the floor? What does the floor support when you're on your front? So we are so used to sensing a contact with the floor when we're on our back. So this isn't as familiar. If you think about sensing, think about the difference. The flexor surfaces are touching the floor. So these things, the sternum, for example, that's usually free to move, is now not so free to move. So it's on the floor. But how much of the sternum is on the floor? Heaps. Apparently heaps is a very South Australian word. I didn't know. You don't know, do you? You just think it's everywhere. But is heaps of your sternum touching the floor, or less than heaps? How much of your ribs? Obviously your belly. But where does your belly stop touching? knees. For most people, not the shin, but it depends, totally depends on how you've got your feet. If you've got your feet turned out or in, then your lower leg does touch the floor. Okay, come back up onto your elbows to a place that gives you some sort of satisfaction around ease of movement. And again, have your face lifted more or less to the vertical, where it's sustainable. And again, begin this little movement of your chest sinking between your shoulder blades and then lifting up between your shoulder blades. And how wide is that gap between the shoulder blades as you lift? And then how narrow is that gap? So if I came and put my hand there, would you pinch my fingers if they were between your shoulder blades? Could they almost knock together, almost clap? How close are they to that spine in your chest? And your face stays in that same plane the whole time. And do you notice what else moves to allow the shoulder blades to slide away from each other and comes towards each other in the belly, in the front of the hips? What else is touching the floor? So the front of the thighs. And how much is pushing and lifting? How much is sinking? This idea of work and no work, or a different kind of work to lower yourself into gravity. That's it. Good, leave it. Roll on your back and rest on your back for a moment. So are you all in hypercritical mood and you're evaluating my language and my pace and the rests and the instructions, or you're just going, bugger that, I'm just going to get into my own shit? Sorry, forgot about the language. Sorry. Didn't you? No, you're much more mature. I just realised we've got guests in the room. I was brought up very badly. Very, very badly. I wasn't smacked enough as a child. I would be a better person if I was hit more often as a child. Is that really inappropriate as well? My stepson swears that we hit him when he was a boy. We never did. Like, we just didn't. We didn't hit him. Like, I was so frightened of his mother. There's no way I would have hit him. But his memory is that I did. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Never did. Never, never, never. Anyway, there you go. So stretch out your right arm so that it's sort of 90 degrees away from your body. So straight out to the side on the floor. And the palm of your hand is upward. So the palm of your hand is facing forwards relative to you. Now begin a little bit, just a tiny bit. It's a micro movement to start with, of sliding the back of your right hand a little bit away from yourself on the floor. So directly away from yourself. So more to the right of you on the floor, and then back again. And continue to do that, a little bit away from yourself and then back. So actually the whole arm is sliding, isn't it? And then it slides back in towards you along the length of your arm. And that the elbow stays straight. And begin to get a sense that actually your shoulder blade isn't quite so fixed on your chest as maybe you thought it was. So that as your arm slides away from you, the shoulder blade is moving away from the spine. And as your arm slides back towards you, the hand, that the shoulder blade kind of tucks underneath you more and goes towards the spine. So how would you make room for it to slide under towards the spine more? Or does it slip under like, sliding paper under the door? Find a way that your chest can be like the door so that the shoulder blade can slide in a little bit underneath. And so now there's a sense, maybe your attention is sensing not so much the hand sliding on the carpet, but the shoulder blade sliding on the carpet. So in a way, you could have this notion that your shoulder blade is pushing your hand away and then away from you and then pulling your arm back towards you. Would that be a possibility? Maybe you only imagine that as a conceit. Rest when you need to. Then bring your attention to the shoulder. No, I'm just trying collarbone. I was going to say clavicle or collarbone. So that funny key bone in the front of your shoulder, the top of your chest. And do you have any ideas about what happens to the collarbone as you slide this whole arm away from you and back? Now, it's a pretty weird spot, so you are allowed to put your left hand on it. It's interesting that a lot of people were kind of guiltily thinking about it. I could read your mind. You're allowed to. It says so in the instructions. So is there anything or nothing happening in that area of the collarbone, the right collarbone, as your hand is moving away from you and coming back? Imagine that the person next to you reached over and held your right arm gently and pulled it away from you. So lengthened your hand away from you. Would that evoke a different sense where the arm is lengthening passively away from you, and then they could find a way to push your arm back towards you again? Would that give you a different appreciation? Leave it and rest with your arms by your side, or rest. If you need to get off your back, do that. It's a properly rest, not a fake rest. Have your right arm out to the side again, the palm up. And do the movement again of your hand sliding away from you and then sliding back towards you with the elbow staying straight. And sense down through your ribs how far this pull, as the arm slides away from you, how far can you discern the influence of that tugging on the ribs that are close to the arm. So now underneath that shoulder, the clavicle, the collarbone, the ribs further down, maybe even the ribs on the other side, something in your belly, side of your neck, the head. And if it's a micro movement, then it's a micro influence, isn't it? And now use your left hand and put it on some of those places. So the right side of your ribs, at the top and the bottom. So use your left hand to inform. Sounds like the drought's broken. And then keep your left hand sliding around so that you could actually touch that outside edge of your shoulder blade, the right shoulder blade. So give yourself a big hug and find somewhere in the neighborhood at least of that right shoulder blade. So it may be that you're going underneath the armpit to get if that's really, really hard because of the breasticles, you can go over the top of your shoulder, maybe get the top of the scapula, top of the shoulder blade. Somehow or other, make some kind of connection with the scapula, with the shoulder blade on the right, and again, begin to slide your hand away and towards you. That's it, good. Leave it, rest for a moment, rest with your arms long, supported, quiet. Good, roll onto your stomach and prop up on your elbows again. So your face is more or less vertical. And try out that movement. So again, find a place where you're supported on your elbows. Your face is oriented more or less to the horizon. And you can allow your chest to sink between your shoulder blades and then raise up between your shoulder blades. And what has that exploration on your back done for you? Anything? Nothing? Something? Don't know? In terms of allowing your shoulder blades to come together, and you can sink between your shoulder blades, and then you can rise up, and your thoracic spine kind of emerges, rounds between your shoulder blades, and your shoulder blades actually sort of head towards your armpits. All right? Yep, yep, yep. And what influence does that have on the head? So the head is kind of being simply carried. This could become known as the meerkat lesson. Does that help if I said something like that? You wanted to see higher over, higher over the horizon. So meerkats have that fantastic vertical axis so that they can spin around the horizon. Do you get a sense that with your face vertical, you do have more meerkatness, meerkatnicity, the quality of a meerkat? You are a safer person with a vertical axis. It could be a bumper sticker, couldn't it? Find your vertical axis. Be safe. More of the horizon. And what's the influence in terms of the clarity of the right shoulder blade and the left shoulder blade? It's probably the difference is dissipated a bit now as you've done the symmetrical movement again. But did the asymmetrical exploration make a difference? In terms of the ribs moving underneath the shoulder blades, the belly wall on the right versus the left. In your mind's eye, was there a difference in the sort of imagining or the sensing? That's it. Good, good. Roll over and lie on your back. And take this moment on your back. This is the fake rest because it's to evaluate what you're sensing using the floor on the back, and particularly in relation to this, the area between your shoulder blades and, of course, your shoulder blades. And how informative it is. So the difference between the way one shoulder blade lies on the floor compared to the other. And possibly I should have directed your attention to that at the beginning of the lesson. In one of the ATMs that one of your colleagues taught, I became acutely aware of my right shoulder blade feeling like it was sitting in my right armpit, and the left shoulder blade was super flat right on the back of my chest wall. So maybe you have something like that because of the exploratory movement you just did, or maybe that's the way you are, and maybe now you've equalized more, or who knows? You know, all these things happen because we're starting off from different places. And roll over onto your tummy, onto your stomach. And have your face turned to the right. And your right arm extended away from you, so elbow straight to the right, away perpendicular. That's it, away to the right. And notice that in this position, it's the most logical, face to the right. Face to the right, arm to the right arm to the right. Everything is right. Yeah, so you're actually lying on the left side of your face, but you're facing to the right. The back of your head is facing to the left, if it had a face, but it doesn't. You've started me off. You did it. It's your fault. Okay. So, and notice that it is the most logical in this position that your palm is down on the floor. Yeah, and left arm's down by your side, and the right arm is directly out to your side. That's it. Left arm is down by your side. Right arm is out from your side. Yep. Cool. All right. And now in this position, begin this idea, firstly, as an idea of your right hand sliding away from you. Just a millimeter, like a micro movement. And then slowly, slowly bringing it back. And keep going a little bit away to the right. And then back. So your arm gets longer and it kind of telescopes back. And when do you start becoming aware of the shoulder blade also sliding more to the side of you and then sliding back more towards the middle of you, more towards the spine, the thoracic spine? And what's the similarity and the difference? So it's exactly the same movement, apart from the fact that your face is turned. It's just that you're flipped. You're in the sort of 180 orientation. However, it possibly feels like a remarkably different movement, or not. There will be some similarities and there'll be some differences. So how does your brain hunt for those things? So it requires memory, obviously. What do you remember of the sensations when you were lying on your back and doing the same movement? And your elbow stays straight. And then the movement gradually grows. And the point about growing the movement is to clarify the influence through the rest of you. It's not because we're interested in a big movement, but just to amplify the possible pathways, if you like, or the influence as the shoulder blade comes back towards the spine. Does your chest change shape? Do the ribs move? What happens in the neck? What happens in the pelvis? What happens in the right leg versus the left leg? And the answer could be something. The answer could quite legitimately be nothing. As you all know, the point is the question, the posing of the question. What's happening in your belly? Gently, quietly turn your face towards the left. So you're lying on but leave your arms like they are. Leave your arms like they are. So you go gently, because this is possibly more demanding on your neck. Possibly not. Depends on you. But it's not entirely congruent. So be gentle and begin to, or continue rather, to do the movement. Sliding your hand away from you and towards you with the elbow straight. And are there aspects of this movement that are easier with your face this way, or aspects that are a little bit more tricky, or not? So if you had to choose, and this was going to be your job, sliding your hand to the right, away from you and back again, and you got to choose, would you choose to do it with your arm, with your head facing the hand, or away? So if you weren't subject to me being the boss, if you were the boss. Go ahead and rest a moment. Stay on your tummies because you only have to come back. So this is a mini rest. Rest what needs to be rested, whether it's your mind, concentration, your arm, your shoulder blade, whatever needs resting, let it rest. Okay, onto your tummies again. And now have both arms out straight from your sides so that they're on the floor and the palms are down. And you can rest on your chin, you can rest on your forehead, you can rest on either cheek. You can choose. And begin to slide both hands away from you at the same time, simultaneously or at the same time, whichever you like. It's a very old joke. And then bring them back again. So you can experiment with where your head is. And it's the same constraint as that your elbow joints have disappeared. So the arms stay long and the movement is as big as it is. And so now, of course, both shoulder blades move away from each other and then they come towards each other. Excuse me. And the movement can be micro, it can be macro, whatever it takes for you to know that you're doing it. What's happening in the front of you? So the back of you is quite busy, isn't it? Pushing the shoulder blades away and pulling them together. What's happening in the front of you? Is it nice to hug the floor like this? It's such a big floor. You have to have your arms so wide. It's like hugging the whole world. Your arms are open wide. Did you ever think about your scapula when you're giving somebody a hug? They're quite important. And the front of your chest and your ribs. And breathing. And if you haven't experimented with your head facing different ways or on your chin, do so. Okay, good. And now come up onto your elbows. So this is the last one for today. Propping on your elbows and your face is looking to the horizon. Maybe re-evoke that sort of baby kind of feeling of the way, little babies, they do prop up on their elbow like this. And they do get their faces vertical. And it does broaden their world. So get that sense, firstly, of looking. And now allow your chest to sink between the shoulder blades, between your shoulder blades, not the shoulder blades, and raise. So arching and slumping between your shoulder blades. And breathing. So it's like a really tired sphinx and a really kind of teetering on angry sphinx. The slumpy sphinx and the very erect sphinx. And has there been any influence on this movement from the clarification of the shoulder blades on your back and on your front, more on the right than on the left? The belly, the small of the back, the front of the hips, the back of the hips, the length of the legs. Good. Leave it. Rest on your back. a real rest. Give it up, rest. I think you're starting to get a sense of just how fantastic this series of lessons would be for an office group who were somewhat familiar with Feldenkrais, because it's a bit demanding, but how it really is getting deep, deep, deep within those, between the shoulder blades. When you're sitting on the train and you can see all the office workers and they've just got that part where you can't quite reach between their shoulder blades. This really gets there. So what's it like to have that place a little bit more lively? Actually it can be a little bit painful. It can wake up with a bit of a sense of rust. And what's the floor telling you about that place now, between the shoulder blades? And then remember back to the original sensing of your spine, to the length of your spine, from the base of the skull down the neck, the back of the thorax and the lumbar spine. What's the shape of your spine at the moment, at this moment, and the length? What's the floor telling you about your curves? Slowly think about rolling over and coming up to sitting. Bring your dangerous curves with you. Now just sit there for a moment, because you've got I'm going to tell you about some homework. I should have done it while you're a captive audience. So tomorrow morning, we'll start the day with everybody sharing one thing that they learned about teaching today that they really want to keep on doing, that I felt good about, and one thing that they want to work on. So, there's sort of that idea, yesterday when we did the little FI things with each other, where you were using your hands with each other to really validate a part that was really participating well in the movement, and a part that probably has got more potential to be part of the movement. So with those two ideas in mind, reflect on your teaching the ATM today, something that you know was participating really well. So an aspect of your teaching that you were really pleased with, that you felt was present, and a part that you are keen to have another go and to evoke to be more present in your teaching. Is that clear? And we'll just share that with each other in the big group tomorrow morning. So be prepared. You'll be marked on it. Nah, you won't be marked on it. Like, as if we could be bothered doing maths. As if. I can always make jokes about maths, because everyone knows it's not my numbers. Not my forte. I can do it, but, All right, slowly come up to standing. That brought you out of yourself, didn't it? So a bit of self-reflection. With this idea of, you're reflecting in a benevolent way, not in a judgmental way. Like you were with your partner yesterday, you were not judgmental. None of you were. I saw it. You weren't corrective. You weren't critical. It was nothing like that. So it's the same attitude to yourself. And if you're critical with yourself, I'll be really cross. That's funny. No, I won't be cross. All right. Have a lovely evening and well done. Yay! That's my Muppet.